So, my name is John Ferrara. I'm the CEO of Nimble, and today's a special day. My guest host, Bryan Kramer, is somebody that truly stands out from the humanity that surrounds us all. He is a teacher and a preacher. He's about heart and soul. And you could tell that by just the things that does and the people that he surrounds himself with. And Bryan has really been a pioneer about heart to heart, people to people. And that too much we talk about B2B or B2C, when in reality, it's people to people and heart to heart. And it's really soul to soul. That people buy from people they like, know, and trust. And there's no one in this world that you would like more or trust more if you truly knew Bryan Kramer. Bryan, can you say hello to the audience?
Hey, how are you doing? And talking about a human moment, the moment that you said, "Can you talk to the audience?" A leaf blower went right by my window. So this is a truly human moment for you all.
So Bryan has been teaching and preaching in and around the areas of digital marketing, but really has transcended that in the keynotes that he delivers worldwide and empowering people to connect more effectively. And as he says, the more digital we get, the more human we need to be. And so we invited Bryan onto this webinar to help us learn how to humanize our brand and grow our business, because I think that if you're not standing out from the digital automation that surrounds us all today, that you're going to miss out on an opportunity to truly separate yourself, stand out from the crowd, and grow in 2018. So Bryan, take us away.
Fantastic, fantastic. Let me know if any of the leaf blowing here gets to be too much, and I can adjust the sound. But
And Bryan, let me just interrupt you 1 second. Bryan loves interaction. Bryan loves questions because it shows the engagement and also leads him down trails that's going to be more beneficial to you. So please ask questions in the question box. We've got a team here listening to them, and we'll surface them as we go, as well as do Q&A at the end.
Excellent point. Excellent point. I do. I thrive on engagement, and this is one of my favorite yet toughest formats. So, and that's because I don't get to see your faces. So I'm going to imagine your faces out there. John, Janch, Tammy, Eric, Kathy, John, Katie, Ted, Eric, Chris, Carrie, Roberta, Jim, Jackie, Gregory, John, Roberta, Misty, Michael, David, Tarek, and I could go on. I absolutely thank you so much for coming to this. And the only way that I can connect with you is by hearing from you in this format. So I do hope, like John said, I do really hope that as we go, you throw your questions out right as you think of them. Don't wait. If it's a comment, throw it out. I don't care. I'd love to hear from you, and I will. If we don't have a chance to answer it today, then I will personally email you afterwards. So let us know. So as John mentioned, my whole platform is really built around humanizing your business, or as I talk about it here in my whole platform of learning what human to human really is. So 4 years ago, I gave this presentation called "There's No More B2B or B2C, It's H to H, Human to Human." And while I've been talking about this for 17 years, as I've owned an agency here in San Jose, California, of humanizing your business, the concept of H really came from a lot of the things that happened in social media over the last just 10 years. Social media really isn't that old. It's gone really fast. I think you guys have all, if anybody has been on social media, and I mean the social media proper, for more than 10 years, 15 at the most, I'd be surprised, because it's really that new. And it gave us a real lift in business. It did something that no other technology advancement ever did, which is it put everybody in touch with the customer. So it does not matter whether you are a business to business or a business to consumer. The CEO all the way through the organization to the person sitting at the front desk has access to the customer, and that's what's changed the world forever. And what's cool about that is that we have the ability now to hear from people, to talk to people, to engage with people. And that changes the conversation. It changes it in lots of ways, from a customer service standpoint, from a social selling standpoint, from being able to meet people all over the world, anytime, any place, without having to get on an airplane. And so doing things like this, even on this webinar, I get to connect with you all and hear hopefully from you in the comments. And we will hopefully strike up an engaged conversation. If you reach out to me afterwards on Twitter, I guarantee you will get a response, because I respond to everybody myself. If you email me, I will reply to you. I have 30,000 emails on my newsletter, and I reply to anybody that replies to my newsletter. In fact, I encourage it, and I spend a day replying to everyone. This is the kind of thing that I think every company will need to do in order to stand out. As we're starting to move into new platforms like artificial intelligence and machine learning and virtual reality and augmented reality and automated emails, and the list goes on. I mean, look at the different platforms that we have to rely on just social media alone. There's at least five to six strong platforms that we're engaging with there. As you start to look at then the content side and the noise that's out there, and how much automation is going on with things like bots and email marketing and automated marketing and email marketing, it's starting to become a very big, noisy place. And I'd love to hear from you. Where is the one place, if you can jot it down, where's the one place that you tend to live the most in the digital or social space? What's the platform you use? Is it email? Is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? And you can reply to this question as a person, if you're more comfortable that way, or as a business. I'll leave that up to you.
Hey, Bryan, I wanted to interject something that came to mind when you were talking about that everybody in the company participates in the conversation with the constituency around it. I think it's important to emphasize that, so that the people listening to this absolutely understand that business isn't just about selling, and it's not just about prospects and customers. That a company, in order for it to grow, has to connect with a variety of people. At Nimble, we connect with editors, analysts, bloggers, influencers, third-party developers, investors, advisors, and prospects and customers. And it's everybody on our team who participates in the conversation. And I think the problem that we still have in business is that we use CRMs for engagement, and then we have all these other silos: sales, marketing, customer service, accounting, social media, and contact management in a company, where the contacts are all kept between walls, between departments in sales, marketing, customer service, etc. And I think that what we need is to align the promises we make and the experience that we deliver as a business, and help empower the customer-facing business team members to build their brand, to create that engagement. And I think that our systems today still are siloed, and the thinking is still siloed. And so for everybody listening to this, for you to be effective as a business today, everybody in the company needs to be empowered to build their brand and connect, listen, and engage with the constituency around them, in order to truly humanize your brand and connect with your customers.
Awesome. I couldn't have put it any better. And just to add on and say, and I would say that we buy from people, we don't buy from companies. The things that make us unique are the things that make us the most human. When you like to work with somebody, when you see somebody or meet somebody and they make an impact on you, it's what you want to buy from the most, is that unique personality, the thing that makes you and that other person go, wow, I'd really like to work with this person. They seem like, they're quality person of many kinds. And so as we start to look at how our social body language lives on social media, or throughout digital marketing, we can start to form, that authenticity. And I hate using the word authenticity, because it's thrown out so much these days. And I think it can also be faked, that you can fake authenticity online. And so starting to form a real authentic nature, and really building your true personality into the ways that you share, that is what's going to connect you with the other people, or at least attract them to you, because they want to do more business with you. It's the same way that it is in the real world when we're physically together.
Hey, Brian, I just wanted to give you feedback on the question you just asked. You asked what tools they use for engagement. You would expect it to be phone, email, LinkedIn, but interestingly enough, the majority of things I'm seeing include a lot of Facebook and Instagram, but certainly email, face-to-face, and LinkedIn are included in there.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I'm seeing some Nimbles in there as well, which is fantastic, obviously. And then maybe there's a few Instagrams and LinkedIn's. But you're right, John. That's interesting. And I threw this out in our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group called humanmarketinghub.com. That's free and you can join it. We pose these kinds of questions all the time. And the one I threw out yesterday was, is the phone dead, or do we actually count more on text messaging than we've ever text messaging or messaging than we've ever done before? And so I would actually push everyone here, and I'm kind of jumping a little bit to the, if you like the end of the story, I'm going to tell you a little bit of the end of the story before I actually get into the slides here. But think about the last time that you got a letter in the mail. And when that letter was actually handwritten, or a thank you note, or something was made special out to you and it wasn't printed, that kind of inspiration that you get right at the mailbox when you go, wow, it serves so much delight now, now more so than it ever has before, from 10 to 20 years ago when everybody was doing that, or at least most people. That's the kind of delight that we need to create now with so much automated digital marketing. That's the kind of actual traditional human marketing that's making a comeback. It's like bell bottoms are back. This is the kind of thing that's going to make you stand out if you're looking for a way to stand out of the noise. Doesn't mean you have to write handwritten notes, but you might cut through the clutter if you did.
And Brian, I want to share a concept with you in regards to the digital interaction. I think that for many people in the United States still, they think that LinkedIn is social. I mean, LinkedIn is the place you go for business connections. And truly, it is a system of record of who somebody is and where they work. But if it's kind of like walking into somebody's lobby, you're going to get their business persona, but people don't connect on the business side. They connect on the personal side, the human side. I call it the 5 F's of life: family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship. These are the softer things that you connect with people on in order to build deep relationships and earn intimacy and trust. And these are the things that you find on Instagram and Facebook, and even to a certain extent Twitter. And so that's why a chair has 4 legs, or at least 3. You need more than one leg, LinkedIn, in order to build a connection with a human being. And I find that connections start softly on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, go to email, but they solidify in places like Facebook and Instagram.
Fantastic. And even better when they solidify it in person. All
Amen.
right. So moving to the pillars of H to H, one of the things that that I like to make sure that you really understand is what it takes. What that I was talking about, social body language, and what there are ways that you can build a better social persona around yourself or your company. This applies to both, and in coming across and being your most human self. And so we're going to play a little game. This is where you get to engage more as well. So get your fingers ready and start typing away here, because I want to hear some answers on this. The first piece of the H to H pillars of what makes you the most human is simplicity. Simplicity, when you think about simplicity, it is like an In-N-Out burger. When you get three choices, how much more simple can you get? Now, what I'd love for you to do is to type in brands that you think are simple. Reply back with that. And as you're replying back, I'm going to move to the next one. John, if you can be looking for, and Michaela, if you can be looking for those responses, I'd love to hear, what do you believe makes companies the most simple, and who are those companies? The next one is empathy. Empathy is when we embrace and love reaching out and having heart and soul with some company, but even more so when that company actually embraces that back with us. So as we're thinking about empathy, what brand do you believe has empathy for its customers?
And I see
Oh, I
that
love
there's
it.
a lot of Apple mentions about the simplicity.
Yeah, a lot of Apple, Tom's shoes, peanut butter. That's simple. Starbucks, they've certainly tried. A lot of Apple, AT&T, Starbucks, Marriott, Chewy.com. That's a new one. We have a Trojan. I have not heard that one yet. McDonald's. So these are great. Now, who has empathy for your customers? Go ahead and start typing those in. And then while you're doing that, I'm going to talk about the next one, because the next one is actually one of the hardest ones out of the three, and that's imperfection. Imperfection is what actually I think will separate us from the robots and the machines in the future, because it's the imperfections that actually draw us in as humans toward each other. I have some examples for you coming up, but think about imperfections that have actually drawn you into a company. And even more so, I want you to answer now, what company embraces imperfection? Meaning they might have screwed up, they might have done something that was imperfect, or they may appear to be imperfect, but they embrace it. Now, there are companies out there, because no one is perfect. Perfect is a myth. It doesn't exist. But they don't embrace it as well as they should. What I want you to do is actually tell me what companies you think embrace imperfection. Nice. We've got Johnson and Johnson. That's a good one. We've got Lyft,
Oh,
Amazon
true.
again. Driscoll's Berries. Interesting. We've got Wells Fargo. Yeah, that's a good one. Virgin, Samsung, Pepsi. Yeah, these are great. These are great. Now, here's the kicker to the whole thing. Now that you have thought through each one of these, and you know that these are the things that make a company or a person more attractive online to be more human, now start thinking about what companies maybe tie two of these together. You don't have to answer me, just think about it in your head. Now, that's going to get harder. If you just try to think about a company that actually embraces simplicity and empathy, it gets a ton harder than just one, right? Now, think about a brand, and John, I'd love to hear from you as well, just as the voice of everyone out there, maybe what pops into your head as what might embrace all three.
That gets really tough.
Does
But
get tough.
Tom's shoes comes to mind. For sure, empathy, and for sure, simplicity, and even imperfection, in that, Tom's is trying to spread out their brand to glasses and coffee and other things. And I think they're struggling a little bit with that, right? They have one shoe, that one style that sort of was it, like kind of like UGG did, but they're sort of trying to expand from that. But that's just one that comes to mind. But I do want to say this. In regards to empathy, I think that Satya Nadella is a god and an amazing leader who leads from the heart, from his soul, with empathy. And if you want to learn more about that, read his new book. But I think that he has transformed Microsoft and into really a whole different company.
And I couldn't agree more. I was talking about that last night, about how I think Microsoft is really really growing leaps and bounds right back to where they should be, and maybe going to surpass that in terms of the brand and everyone's minds. John Janish, he asked, what do I mean by imperfection? So let me just explain that, John, just so that you actually understand imperfection. Imperfection is when something happens to your brand. Things happen all the time, like with a delivery from FedEx when something's screwed up, or with Amazon when they didn't do something right. Did they make it right? But did they say they were sorry in a real way? Uber right now is going through, they're probably one of the most imperfect brands out there, and yet are they treating that, are they embracing it with total authenticity, and do you believe them? How are they responding in that way? And so you really,
I have a story about imperfection. Have you ever had turbulence on an airplane, Brian?
all the time, yeah.
Yeah. I've flown, I used to fly 4 days a week. So I've flown a lot. I was on a South by Southwest flight with my family not too long ago, and it literally scared the crap out of me. I just like turbulence I've never even ever felt. And we're flying over the Rockies from Denver to LA, and there's a lot of turbulence there. Southwest, without me even asking, sent us each $200 gift certificate for future flights, which was a nice gesture of dealing with imperfection.
That's awesome when they do that, and it's awesome when they do unexpected things. And we can talk more about that. In fact, when we get into the discussion part, John, I have a story for you I'd love to tell about that.
Cool.
Yeah, but that's that. See, I love that. I love when brands they are so proactive that they actually do something before you have to ask. In fact, and here, I hope everybody writes this one down. Actually, I'd love to hear from all of you right now. Just say yes or no. Okay, are you all ready? Get ready. Here it comes. Just say yes or no. Do you have a thank you department? How many of you have a thank you department? Yes, I have a thank you department, or no, I do not. I'd love to hear from you, yes or no. Here's the thing. If you had a thank you department, your churn rates would go way down. Your ability to actually service your customer would go way up. Your ability to service them when something actually does go wrong would probably be easier. And when you actually go for referrals and when you try to get influencers, it's going to be so much easier. Because when you say thank you and you're proactive in the way that John just said that, where he didn't have to ask, they just did it. But now imagine a thank you department that actually reached out and said something before he ever had turbulence. Now all of a sudden it makes that turbulence so much easier. They may have an easier time having him as a customer for life. And that's the kind of stuff that I think is going to make a difference when you're trying to automate emails and you're trying to use bots and you're trying to do all these different things. Go back to the human side of things and think about those things that make people really want to be with your company. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about here.
90% is no.
Right. So we all everyone here has work to do. I want to see more thank you departments springing up in the next 6 months. All right. All right. So here's the next piece I want to talk about is how do you take all of this humanness and now, like John was saying, there's all these different networks. There is not just one network that you operate on. In fact, there's well over 1,000 different networks that we may operate on inside our business, throughout our business. The digital platforms that are through the browser that we work on every day are in the thousands. Now, this is a prism by John and my good friend Brian Solis that he puts together every year. I love it not only because it actually represents all the different possibilities of where communication can take place, but also for how communication travels. If you look at this kind of like a baseball stadium, or even a wagon wheel. I prefer the baseball stadium because who doesn't? If you like sports, it makes that much more sense. And even if you don't like sports, you can visualize how a message might start in one place and go throughout. Let me drive this point home just even a little bit more. Have you, please say yes or no, have you ever been in the wave at a stadium? That's where you sit down and stand up all together in a group and go around the stadium at once. Have you ever done that? And so please say yes or no to that stadium question. I'd love to see if there's any no's there, because we're gonna definitely make sure that happens for you as well. We do have some. Are we getting some no's here?
There's yeses, no no's.
Okay, good. I don't have to call on anybody. All right, good. So here's what I would do. If we were all sitting in the same room together, and you're going to have to imagine this in your minds, because we're not obviously together, but I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine yourself standing up at the right time in the stadium. Since most of you have done this before, now imagine what made you start to do that. Now imagine looking across the stadium and seeing where that first wave started. Where did the point of the wave start, and how did it travel around? Now, sometimes a wave will travel around once, sometimes twice, sometimes 5 times, and even on the best days ever, like a big World Series or a big NFL game, you're going to get 10 or more times, and it's just awesome. I've been in one and it just was so much fun, and it all had to do with a lot of both art and science. Now, the art side we can't really describe because it had to be a feeling of what happened that day. Maybe it was great weather. But the science side comes down to a few very simple things. One, it takes one person to start a wave. Now, the wave was started in 1984 by Crazy George in the Oakland A's Coliseum. He had started the wave not in 1984. He started to try to do the wave in 1982. It did not work. And for 2 years, he tried to do people to do this really fundamental thing of sitting down and standing up and waving their arms at the right time. Now, it took him 2 years to get people to do it to see how much fun this could be. And once he did it, and he got everyone to do the wave, guess what happened? The wave became a wave. It started to go off at every other stadium every couple weeks throughout the rest of the year. And the wave started to make a total wave across the United States and eventually the world. Now, let's break down the ingredients of that. It was started by one person. That one person had to affect change in a smaller group of people in order to get them to then affect a bigger group of people and eventually grow that community. This is no different than social media or how our digital platforms grow. You have to build small communities of people you know, like, and trust to be able to build this. You might look at Facebook groups as a great opportunity to build this for you. You might look at LinkedIn groups to build that for you, or heck, you might just pick up the phone and call your 20 people and get them all on a video call and start talking with them to build your community. But communities are what builds the wave. You can't just get an entire stadium to go off. It does not work that way. You can look at the San Francisco Bat Kid. You can look at all kinds of things that have sparked the viral nature, like the Ice Challenge. Everything pivots around smaller communities growing bigger into bigger communities. That's how it works. So now if we take our humanness and we take our authenticity and we combine that with this theory of the wave and how communities work, we now know how to grow our businesses in the most human way. But where is this going to lead us when the machines are coming? I mean, I know I get asked this all the time. What happens? I'm focused right now on AI and what that's going to do to our skill sets and how that's going to be relevant. And I know we don't have a lot of time to go into that today, but that's one of the things that we should be thinking about and not just concerned about, but really planning ahead for. So the question is it humans and machines or humans versus machines? Well, I am, first of all, always for humans. I believe the humans are going to win. I don't believe that the machines are going to take over the world and we're all going to be just fine. I do think that we're going to have to actually up level our skill sets, that we're going to have to be prepared, and that we're going to have to use AI in the right way and make sure that it's used for good. Now, what does that do to the noise level and the volume of the content that's out there, and how are we going to stand out? We're going to stand out through shared experiences. So if I were you in any of the companies and as you sit in your company or you sit at home and you're thinking about your brand and you're like, how do I stand out? Well, go take a picture of everyone together doing something that is really meaningful and share it. The shared experiences inside of your companies, and Nimble is really great at this, by the way. If you go look at their page, and I'm not a paid endorser for saying this, so I can honestly say that they take a lot of pictures of things that they're really proud of that they do together. And to me, that gives me greater insight into who they are, so that I know that I want to do business with real people doing real fun things and good things maybe for the world sometimes. Those shared experiences are great, but the shared experiences can go even deeper. Like, for instance, have you ever been to Disneyland and been on the Cars ride? If you know what I'm talking about, the Cars ride goes really fast around this track in the Disney adventure side, California adventure side. And my family and I got onto the Cars ride, and my daughter and my son are sitting in the front seat, and all of a sudden, we did this drop at the end, and the car and the wind and everything made my daughter look like Jesus. Her hair completely covered her top lip and and underneath her chin. And it was, we walked out through the at the end, we were all kind of having fun and we didn't realize this happened. And then we went through the store and we're sitting there looking at these photos that they charge you $9,000 for. If you know what I'm talking about with the toy stores and all the stuff that they sell you, it's quite expensive. But at the end, we're looking at this picture and I just cracked up. And I thought, wow, that's so funny. So what did? I, being the social media person, I shared it. Everyone had a fun laugh and a good time. And I started thinking that these are the moments that I will never forget. So first, I'll never forget my family enjoying ourselves at Disneyland. I know, John, you're the same way with your family. I'll never forget my children just and their smiles and their laugh and everything that we had in that day. But I also know that no robot would ever know the hilariousness or the laughter or the fun that we had in sharing this particular moment in this photo. It's the moments that we share that makes us the most human, and it draws people in to want to get to know us better, because that's what's going to separate us in the future. You can apply the same thinking. It does not have to be humor. In fact, I'm going to walk you through all the different emotions that you can share. These are the 6 different emotions by Paul Ekman, an emotional expert. He has this big paper. You can go through and read it, or you can just listen to me for the next few seconds. I'll break the whole thing down for you. And basically what he broke it down into 6 different categories: fear, anger, sadness, disgust, joy, and surprise. Fear, anger, sadness, joy, and disgust and surprise are the emotions that we share in a standard way. Now, there are a lot of different emotions that branch out from these. So if you're thinking about like where other emotions are showing up, they're probably branching out from these, and that's how he explains the rest of it. But let me cut to the chase in the last page and what he explains, which is when you share with an emotion, the likelihood of them sharing back in reciprocity of that same emotion is highly likely. What that means is if you share with fear, most of the time people are going to share their fear back. When you share in anger, they're going to be angry too. And if you're surprised, they are also going to be surprised. These emotions and how we share on social media drives the reaction. And so if you look at people who share with their heart all the time and they're sharing, really wonderful stories, no wonder people are responding in the same tone, in the same wonder. Now you can start to separate your content in the same way. So if you wanted to be a more 3-dimensional human-driven company, take your content and separate it into the different categories and start to think, how can we share this out so that it's more human-like? Use this for good, not for evil, and actually come across as a more 3-dimensional company. The next thing I want to share is how you determine what kind of a sharer you are, as well to also understand others, because people share in different ways. People are different by nature of who they are. They come across differently. And that's the beauty of humans. We're 3-dimensional, wonderful human beings. Now this was a customer insight report that I worked with the New York Times years ago to get this report from them, and they agreed to it. So the report is phenomenal if you want to go look it up. The report actually breaks it down into these 6 different categories. I'm going to walk you through each one real quickly. Sorry, my dog is having a human moment. And so we've got the 6 different categories here. The first one is altruists. The altruists share from their heart. They're heart sharers. So they love to celebrate in the moment. They like to share things that are near and dear to their hearts, and they like to celebrate other people as well. You might see these people on Facebook all the time. Number 2 is a careerist. The careerists like to share thought leadership. They like to help other people and themselves through things like this. This is a careerist platform right now that we're on for a webinar. The next one is a hipster. Now, I like to think of hipsters as early adopters, not just hipsters. This is where somebody might want to learn something and then re-educate or educate others on what they've just learned. And they're really early to learning that new thing. Number 4 has 2 different categories, the boomerang. The boomerang likes to ask questions. They're a community manager, and then they get everybody to talk. They might be the person that actually starts the wave at a stadium because they love to get everybody up and going. But the boomerang can also be a troll. A troll likes to ask questions to wait for the other people to respond, only so that they can bounce back or pounce back on them. We'll stay on the light side for today. How about that? Number 5 is a connector, and the connector likes to connect 2 or more people together. John is a huge connector, I know that. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that are connectors. And those connectors are people that like to introduce other people. They like to see the fun and the power of connection by introducing 2 people together. And finally, it's the selective. And I believe there's a little selective in us all. And these are the people that like to actually private message or share over a private email or have a private discussion on the phone. They're not necessarily the people that are going to be out front sharing publicly all the time. So there is a little bit of a selective in us all. Now, you can be a lot of these different things. Don't worry, you're not just one thing, but typically you lean towards one more than others. And so that's how that works. Now, just to close out the slides before we enter into some conversation, I get asked this all the time. So how do we know, and I promise you I would show some tools that makes you more human, and how do we use some artificial intelligence or machine learning or things like that that helps us to be better humans and scale faster in knowing, now what you know about why humans are so important and celebrating our human platforms, being authentic, but also how will we stay human with AI coming? Well, there are platforms out there that are doing a good job of doing this. We don't have time to do all these different things that is requiring us to be in more places than once. And so these are the platforms that I truly love that helps me to actually scale one person to many and still have wonderful conversations with people. So X.AI is a good example. That's my digital assistant, Amy, or Andrew, depending upon what you want to use. And I simply copy Amy or Andrew and say, can you please work with John Ferrara and get me an appointment with him. And Amy or Andrew.
And I want to shout Amy out. When you first used Amy with me, I was amazed. And I'm still amazed with amazing Amy. So if you struggle with getting appointments done and running emails back and forth between a lot of people, it's a nice way to humanize it. So I'm going to plug that as well.
Oh, nice. I remember that. That's funny. And so I definitely say test that out. It's not perfect, and that's okay. It does say that it's an AI bot at the bottom of every email, so you're not deceiving anyone. But it has a long way to go, but I have saved on average about 3 to 4 hours a week. It sends me the total hours saved based upon the conversations that go back and forth all the time, and it saves us a lot of time. And that's what I'm looking for in technology now, is how can I save time and bring together a better conversation faster, and giving me more time with conversations. The next one is Nudge, and actually it's nudge.ai, not nudge.com. Sorry about that. Nudge.ai is great. It actually offers up intuitive networking. So think of it as LinkedIn on steroids. So it will bring in like who you're connected to and show you what content they're sharing, so that you can get you can share back with them faster, or you can reach out to them and have a better human relationship without having to dig through all their content every single day. Because there's no way that each of our networks, we have time to actually go through all our content online through all of our networks and be up to date on people and actually reach out and say hi and have something smart to say. Nudge lets you do that. The next one is Try Lately, and just being transparent here, I do some consulting with Try Lately. But what I love about it too is, and I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't, is that it allows you to put into their content generator a link to your blog post, and then it creates dozens of of social media posts for you within seconds. And so again, I don't want to spend a lot of time regurgitating some of the things that I've already written, and they are already from my voice, from my human voice. I've written them, I feel good, and lately literally just takes my own words and makes posts out of them so that I can then share that with the world and not have to spend an average of 3 to 4 hours a week putting together social media posts and writing them all out and setting them all up and scheduling them all to go out. It just saves a ton of time. The final one is Nimble, and I would be remiss if I didn't actually. You guys are already I think it's a love fest for Nimble, but I'll throw my vote into the hat. And the reason that I like it is because I can track it's like my brain, my digital center. So I can go to bed at night not feeling like I have to remember anything, and I can wake up in the morning and just check it out and know where my whole world is. So everything that I just described on X.AI and Nudge and Try Lately, it all integrates back into Nimble for me so that I can keep track of it in one place. And I like that. I need just one place to go where I can trust all the data. And obviously there's way more features that Nimble has, and you guys are aware of it, but that's the reason that I like it, is it saves me all the time from having to go to 5 different platforms. I can just go to one platform. Okay, so this is the end of the presentation, but we're going to dive into some Q&A and some banter with John. The only thing I'll say is that if you really enjoyed everything that I talked about, you want to learn even more through some great. I worked really hard at putting these videos together, and they're free. And they talk more about getting down into the weeds on each of the topics that I talked about, and even expand more into areas like advertising and building your personal brand and things like that. So if you go to h2hcompanies.com, then you can sign up for a free video series, and it will give you just a ton of great fun information. They're short videos, they're only like 5 minutes, and it'll just be that kind of like power boost of information once every 2 weeks that will give you some really cool stuff there. So I hope you guys sign up for that, and I'd love to see you guys there. And if you ever get an email from me, hit reply and talk to me, because I will reply back.
Hey, Bryan, can you pass me over the control? I want to walk people through a few examples of how to be more human in their engagement. And then while I'm getting sort of set up to do that, if you can scan through the questions and just see if there's any that you would want to cover while during our Q&A.
Fantastic, I'm doing that now.
Okay, so as I was sharing before, if you want to get to know John Ferrara, you can Google me today. In fact, that's what most people do. Most professional, effective people Google somebody before their meetings to understand who somebody is and what their business is about, because I think that's your job. You should know about somebody. You should know about their business before you ever get on the phone or walk in their door, so you could already be prepared to add value. But most people don't really do this. And if they do this, they immediately go to somebody's LinkedIn resume. And I call it their resume because this is their business persona. And although you'll get to know a little bit more about me by going to my LinkedIn, if you really want to know about my heart and soul, go to my Instagram. And here you'll learn about who I am and what's important to me. And you'll discover ways to find ways to connect and share our commonalities. As I shared before, people connect on the softer side of life: family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship. And you can see I do plenty of family, food, and fellowship. But ultimately, this is how you can do it in business. So this is a guy named Todd Nelms. He's the chief of staff of one of the people that runs Microsoft globally. And Todd and I are really great friends, but Todd's been super busy lately, and I haven't been able to really stay in touch from a business perspective. But what I do, because we share our commonalities across the different ways we engage, I stay connected with him because we share a passion of mountains and flowers and dogs and other things. And so we stay connected that way. So from a business perspective, what you should be doing is establishing your brand on all the main places where your constituency has conversations. You should be dripping content to inspire and educate them, to set yourself up as a trusted advisor, so that when there are conversations that are happening in and around your areas of promise, your products or services, they actually talk about you. And here's an example. So there is this lady named Tiffany Bova who used to be the CRM analyst at Gartner, who was talking about how CRM, she now works at Salesforce, basically helping to build their brand and tell their story. She said that CRM isn't about command and control, it's about empowering customer-facing business team members. And somebody said BS. And when are sales managers going to loosen their grip? And isn't this what John Farrar has been teaching? Now, most of the time, you're going to miss your notifications because if you do what we tell you to do, to inspire and educate others on a daily basis by sharing content that is inspirational and educational in around the areas of promise, your products and services, you're going to get overwhelmed with connections and conversations. And that's why you need a tool that will unify your email, contact calendar, and social signals, and then give you a dashboard that you start your day and end your day with that shows you the signals of people talking to you or about you. And that's what Nimble did. Nimble told me about this conversation, and I was able to take this conversation and convert that person from a one-dimensional record into a three-dimensional record that essentially told me that he was the head of CRM and data at Disney. And therefore, I was able to respond more effectively, not only inline in this channel, but I was able to take this conversation and shift it from Twitter to a one-to-one conversation in email, because not only did Nimble build this record on this person, but it also gave me their email. And because of the way he was talking about me and to me, it gave me permission to reach out, which I then did. And that conversation shifted from Twitter to email to a LinkedIn conversation, where I learned that not only does he live in my city, but our daughters go to the same school. And I then invited him for breakfast because, as Bryan says, the more digital get, the more human we need to be, and we need to take the digital relationships into face-to-face. And we met for breakfast, where I listened and learned, found ways to add value, and created a relationship where this person has become an advocate and talks about Nimble on a regular basis now. And that's what you need to be able to do. And the problem is that for you to do it effectively, you're in all these different places. And if you want to know who somebody is and what they're about, and you need that context and insights in order to engage effectively, it's hard because of the Dunbar limit. You can only manage 100 to 200 people in your head at one time. And that's basically why we built a tool like Nimble. And for those that aren't using Nimble, I encourage you to do so. In fact, I'm going to gift you something today. If you are not using Nimble today, go sign up for a trial and use the code JOHN40, JON40, before the end of your trial, and you'll get 40% off for your first 3 months, just because I want to help you grow today. And so, Bryan, what do you got for questions from the audience?
Yeah, so John, and pardon me, John, if I mispronounce your last name, John Janish, said, should I be using big fonts, the titles of my email campaigns, to grab the attention of my audience, or does that come off as aggressive or like I'm shouting? You know, here's the thing, don't overthink email marketing. In fact, make your emails look just like you would if you're going to email your dearest friend. And that's how you should email market. So, and you personalize it as much as possible. I understand you're talking to more people, but in my emails, I actually always ask a specific question around whatever it is that I have emailed about. John emailed me back. Remember, John, you emailed me actually 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago with a picture of yourself with long hair, and it just, I've never laughed so hard. But I put reply back, and I put the question there for whatever it is that I'm emailing, and I ask people to engage, and I try so hard to get that engagement. It's not the opens or the clicks that I want, it's the engagement that I want, because that's, and I don't care if it's a one-word answer or question, or I'm driving just thought, but if we just can touch base, then I have made another connection with another human being, and that should be the goal. And so then I get asked a lot, how do you do that on scale with a lot of people? Well, if your email list is so large that you can't reply back to that many people, then your email list is too large. And that means that you're emailing too broadly. So then your email list should be broken down into segments so that you can activate and engage on your list. So I would definitely encourage that.
So Bryan, I have an example of outreaching at scale. So I was going to go speak on social selling at Microsoft's WPC conference, now called Inspire. And what I did is I went and found influencers and speakers from the previous years. I imported that Twitter list into Nimble. And rather than emailing all 3,500 people, I created a segment of a couple hundred people that shared commonalities of passion and purpose in and around the subject I was talking about. And I sent a targeted one-to-one relevant, authentic message to 200 of the people. I got a 50% open rate, scheduled 25 meeting, resulting in Microsoft signing a deal to resell Nimble globally with Office 365. And that's the power of one-to-one relevant and authentic engagement. Bryan, you still
there? You go. That's awesome. And I love the fact that you got 25 meetings. That's
yes.
That's powerful right there. So it's the in-person stuff. Everything that we do should lead to a relationship, a real-world relationship, a handshake or a hug, or something that we can point to and say, okay, this is now we get to actually meet each other and have that. So that's awesome. Let's see. I think there are questions. There's a bunch of questions here. A lot of people saying yes, yes, yes from the. So I'm trying to weed through that.
And while you do that, I want to share a story. I think it was the Pope that said recently. He said, "When you're with another human being, be present, be connected, and give them something, even if it's as simply as a smile, which is free for you to give, and one of the most powerful things you can give away to another human being."
That's absolutely true.
And the code was JON40. The discount code for somebody asked, was the code John F40? And my first name is JON. It used to be Giovanni Vincenzo Ferrara, but I changed it to JON to keep it simple. And so it's JON40. If you do not have a Nimble subscription today, feel free to sign up for a trial and enter that code to get 40% off.
Fantastic. I see that Michaela is sharing the links and the code there in the chat as well.
Okay. And while you're looking for more questions, I want to share an experiment that we did in the Goldmine days for email or letter marketing, basically printed letter marketing. We found that a letter formatted in really pretty Times Roman font printed on a laser printer pulled worse than a courier printed letter that looked like it was typed on a typewriter with yellow highlighter on it. So the more imperfect you can be, the more human you are, and the more you'll stand out from the digital automation that is beginning to surround our business conversations.
So true. So true. I remember one time I went to send an email out to my email list, as I mentioned before. To send the email out, it was each time. I know everyone here that's listening has probably had some sort of anxiety over sending an email and having a mistake go out. And so I have email anxiety all the time when I'm sending an email. I'm like, oh, I hope all the links are right and everything's spelled right and the grammar's right. And before I hit send, I forwarded it to Courtney and said, can you check this over? And she's like, oh, everything looks great. And then I go to click send, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna check one more time. And I have someone look over my shoulder, and I'm looking at it, and it just looks great. So finally, I schedule it to send the next morning. And the next morning, I woke up and I got flooded with emails saying, I can't believe you just called me name. See the tags in the top of the email forgot to swap it out with the right tag so that it would actually put their first name in there. Instead, it said, hey, name. And I was just hitting my head against the wall. So that day I was thinking, how can I like show that I'm so sorry for doing that, and I can't believe this. And so I decided to go with humor, because that's one of my my personality traits. And so I sent an email the next morning, and it said, "Hey, name, dot dot dot, just kidding, Joe. I know what your name is. I can't believe I did that yesterday. I'm so sorry, but hey, I'm only human." And I got so many responses back saying, "You just redeemed yourself. I can't believe that. That was such a great response." I actually took the time. I didn't know what I was going to do, and it worked, thank God. But being a human, owning up to it, and resolving your mistake out loud, and putting it out there, it can't. There's no other better option. That is the best option, is to use one of those emotional types that I just shared with you, and actually respond in that way, in whatever way you're comfortable. And guess what also happened? I actually had more sales from that one email, the mistake email, and I had more opens and click-throughs and responses, just simply by using that mode of saying, using humor and then responding in that way. So I highly recommend, maybe don't screw up once a week on purpose, and don't use this for evil, but when you do it, own up to it, and use that humor or one of the emotions, and really, really share that with everyone back.
Yeah, I love that story, Bryan. I think that our imperfections show our humanity, and our humanity helps us to connect deeper, in a more lasting way. There's a comment by Steve Harris. He says, I've been a Nimble user for many years. Our company is actually a Salesforce and Microsoft 365 company, but Nimble does just what I need it to do as one of our top corporate biz dev guys, while the others are better suited for our ERP needs. Additionally, I get value add from our relationship, like the stuff we're all learning today. Love the new opt-out feature and group email. Thanks again, Steve. And I think what Steve's saying is a really important point that I want to share with you as we close out this webinar. I think that your network is your net worth. Your personal brand plus your professional network will help you achieve your passion, plan, and purpose in life, which I hope is serving others. Because I think the reason why we're on this planet is to grow our souls by helping other people grow theirs. And so you all have a golden Rolodex. In case you don't know what a Rolodex is, it's the thing you keep in your phone. It's the contacts. And your network, your Rolodex, will help you achieve your dreams in life, yet we don't really manage them effectively. And Nimble can be the perfect relationship platform that you keep your precious network in, build your brand with, and take it to work with you, and use it in conjunction with the tools that you're using. So Nimble can either be your social sales and marketing system, or work within your existing social sales and marketing systems, including your existing CRM or market automation systems. So with that, Bryan, I'm going to give you the moment to share some closing thoughts, and we'll wrap this up. Please do connect with Bryan and I. We would love to learn more about you and how we can help you grow. Bryan, take us away.
Yeah, I'll close real quickly, since we're real at the top of the hour. I just please do connect back with me. I would love to answer your questions. There are some questions here that we didn't get to. So if you wanted to email me at bryan@bryankramer.com, and just copy and paste your question and send that to me, or I'm sure the team here at Nimble can get me those as well. If you just wanted to just send me a quick note, I'd love for that. I'd love a quick note. Or if you want to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you want, I'm there, and I'd love to hear from you, not just with an invite to connect, but also maybe just a short note, so that we can actually get to know each other. I'd really love that. That's what this is all about. So please do that. And then finally, again, I hope you take me up on the free video series at h2hcompanies.com.
Great. Bryan, thanks again. It's always a pleasure to connect with you, and especially your lovely family. Congrats on your son's graduation, and go enjoy that day with them. And to everybody listening here, thank you so much for coming and joining. It's the vibrations and the connections like this that really power us to achieve our goals and dreams in life. Have an amazing Thursday. Bye-bye.
Hey, thank you, John.
Thank you, Bryan.